This is rosewood, a timber that has now become so valuable that it is recognized as the world's most illegally trafficked wildlife product. Its dense grain, deep burgundy color, and subtle, sweet scent are the characteristics of a timber that takes centuries to grow. Yet in certain Asian cultures, it's highly regarded as one of the most valuable materials for constructing traditional furniture. And this timber is so valuable that certain species on the black market can fetch prices exceeding $300,000 per cubic meter for raw logs. That single cubic meter can be worth more than a small apartment, making it one of the most valuable natural commodities on Earth. The illegal rosewood trade is estimated to be worth over $2 billion annually, establishing it as the world's most lucrative wildlife crime. Seizures now exceed the value of ivory, rhino horn, pangolins, and big cats combined. But this illegal trade isn't being pursued by small-time timber thieves. We're talking about the Rosewood Mafia, sophisticated criminal enterprises with international smuggling routes, corrupt officials, and military-grade logistics. They've turned these ancient giants, some over 500 years old, into a billion-dollar business. And like any illegal trade, the death and destruction that comes with it is very real. Hundreds of people have died in confrontation, the environmental destruction is catastrophic, and worst of all, the demand shows no signs of slowing. Today, we're exposing the communities and parks that are being destroyed by this illegal trade, meeting the people who are willing to die for furniture, and taking a look at what's being done to stop the most valuable timber trade in history. But to understand the rosewood crisis, we have to start at the end, because the demand and value of this timber is truly staggering. A single, intricately carved bed made from rare Siamese rosewood can allegedly sell for up to $1 million on the collector market. But why is this wood, a simple tree, so valuable? Well, the answer lies in China's enduring obsession with rosewood furniture. Rosewood, known as Hongmu in China, translates to red wood and represents far more than just furniture in Chinese culture. This isn't just about status, it's about a sensation. When cut, rosewood releases a subtle, sweet, rose-like fragrance. Its density makes it feel like stone, and its color deepens into a rich, lustrous, purple-red patina over centuries. It is furniture that literally outlives its owner. But of course, the cultural significance runs deep too. Owning authentic Hongmu furniture today is the ultimate status symbol, a direct connection to the Ming and Qing dynasties when emperors surrounded themselves with these deep red, aromatic pieces. For China's New Age millionaires and billionaires, Hongmu furniture represents both luxury and legitimacy, a way to connect their new wealth with ancient imperial traditions. And it's this cultural obsession that has created an insatiable black market. China imports over 90% of the world's rosewood, and demand shows no signs of slowing. In fact, as the middle class has exploded across the country, the appetite for these symbols of enduring status has only grown exponentially. And as authorities have attempted to prevent this, they've seemed to only worsen the problem. As conservation treaties across the globe have made this wood illegal to trade, they have increased its desirability as a rare, forbidden status symbol, driving the price even higher and incentivizing more destruction in the process. And because of this, it's allowed for the birth of the Rosewood Mafia. What started as small-scale logging operations has evolved into sophisticated criminal enterprises that span continents. These syndicates identify remote forests, often in protected national parks, bribe local officials, and deploy teams of loggers who work under armed protection. The scale of this operation is hard to comprehend. Individual shipments can contain thousands of logs, worth tens of millions of dollars. The human cost is devastating too, with hundreds killed worldwide as rangers, police, and loggers are caught up in the territorial disputes between rival gangs. And yet the environmental destruction goes far beyond the rosewood trees themselves. When criminal syndicates target rosewood forests in West Africa and Southeast Asia, they're dismantling entire ecosystems that have taken centuries to develop. The logging process isn't surgical, it's a scorched earth operation. To reach one immense century-old rosewood tree, loggers cut a path of destruction, a skid trail, that can be wide enough to drive a truck through. For every ton of illegal rosewood successfully removed, an estimated 10 times that mass of non-target trees, saplings, and vines are felled and simply left to rot. Conservationists call this collateral deforestation. In Madagascar, this destruction has created an ecological catastrophe. In protected areas like Maswala and Morojeji, the logging isn't just stealing wood, it's pushing species toward the brink. We are losing the last remaining habitat for creatures like the silky sifaka, one of the rarest lemurs on Earth. They're specialized canopy dwellers, and when the ancient towering rosewood trees are felled, the sifaka literally has nowhere left to go. While at the same time, the influx of logging crews introduces new devastating pressures to these habitats. Park rangers consistently report finding bones and remains of these protected primates in former logging camps. What starts as illegal logging quickly becomes an engine for the widespread slaughter of unique wildlife. Oh, and the damage extends to the water too. When rosewood logs are submerged in rivers to avoid detection, the tannins leach out, staining the water a deep, haunting red and altering the entire aquatic chemistry. Rivers that once supported diverse ecosystems become biological dead zones, devastating fish populations, and often contaminating the only source of drinking water for local communities. And while this might sound like a local tragedy on the surface, the consequences impact us all on a far more global scale. When these ancient forests are cleared, it doesn't just eliminate a carbon sink, it releases massive stores of carbon back into the atmosphere, affecting us all. In West Africa, the pattern repeats. Senegal's forests have lost over 80% of their rosewood in just 2 decades. The trees that remain are isolated, making natural regeneration nearly impossible. The entire forest ecosystem begins to collapse without the complex network of roots, mycorrhizal fungi, and interconnected plant communities. And the social cost this destruction has is equally devastating. Indigenous peoples, who have lived in harmony with these forests for generations, find their ancestral territories invaded by armed criminal gangs. Families are displaced, and entire communities lose their connection to their traditional lands. Yet in many of these affected areas, the authorities are fighting a losing battle. Understaffed forest guards are tasked with protecting areas the size of small countries, often armed with little more than a sidearm and a radio, facing off against organized criminals equipped with military-grade logistics. But the hardest truth in all of this is the time needed for recovery. A rosewood tree takes over 100 years to mature, while a chainsaw can destroy it in a matter of hours. Even if illegal logging stopped today, it would take over 300 years for the worst affected forests to recover, a timeline longer than the entire modern history of the United States. So what's actually being done to prevent this ecological disaster? Well, the international community has woken up to the rosewood crisis. But understanding the response requires us to better understand the scale of the problem. You see, annually, tens of thousands of tons of rosewood cross borders, destined for everything from Hongmu furniture to guitar fretboards. This pervasive use means the Rosewood Mafia has multiple entry points into the legal supply chain. And because of that, the international community's response was unprecedented. In 2016, the Convention on International Trade in Endangered Species made history. 300 distinct species of rosewood, the entire main rosewood genus, were placed under international protection. This was a conservation victory of massive scale, the world finally recognizing that you cannot save the tiger if you ignore the forest it lives in. The same international framework that protects elephants from ivory poachers now treats rosewood with identical urgency. But, unlike ivory, where the solution is a straightforward ban, rosewood presents a more nuanced challenge. After all, there are legitimate, sustainable sources and legal trades that support local communities. So the key to distinguishing the two is certification. Under the new regulations, any rosewood crossing international borders must come with proper CITES permits proving it was legally harvested. This documentation tracks the wood from forest to final product, creating a crucial paper trail. Legitimate operations must prove their wood comes from sustainably managed forests or legal plantations, requiring permits and export certificates for every piece. For consumers, this creates a simple but crucial barrier. Think of the CITES permit as the passport for the timber. It proves where it came from, how it was harvested, and that its travel is legal. If your antique dealer or furniture maker cannot produce that passport, you are essentially looking at contraband. But there are exceptions to this, of course. Items made before 1947 are generally considered historical antiques and are exempt, and the extremely rare and legally untouchable Brazilian rosewood remains completely banned for any commercial purposes. Even with certification, tracking the illegal timber trade isn't easy, although the use of advanced technology is changing the game. In one infamous case involving a $50 million seizure of Malagasy rosewood in 2014, authorities were able to use satellite imagery to prove the ship never left the authorized port, contradicting the official paperwork. This kind of wood forensics, using satellite data and DNA testing to track contraband, is now a sophisticated weapon that simply did not exist for authorities a few decades ago, making it exponentially harder for criminal networks to hide their tracks. Interpol has even created specialized units focused on environmental crime, treating rosewood trafficking with the same seriousness as drug smuggling. International databases share information, allowing multi-country operations to dismantle entire criminal networks in synchronized strikes. But as with most conservation efforts, the strongest long-term solution lies with the people. Community-based programs are training forest communities not just to protect the trees, but to profit from sustainable harvesting and alternative species. This is the real victory, proving that a forest is more valuable to a community standing than it is felled for quick cash. But all of us play an important role in the conservation of this ancient tree. Bullets won't win the battle against illegal logging. Receipts will. Rosewood is a beautiful timber, and the legal and ethical sourcing of it is available to anyone who wants it. But when doing so, it's important to ensure you are not fueling the illegal trade. So when buying rosewood, or any high-value, exotic wood for that matter, always ensure it comes with the correct CITES documentation. A legitimate dealer will be proud to prove they're supporting sustainable supply chains, not funding violence and extinction. It's also important to be aware of the antique trap too. The pre-1947 antique exemption is real, but it's also the mafia's favorite loophole. Dealers routinely claim items are antique without proof. Again, the key here is to demand documentation, a bill of sale, import records, or provenance certificates. If they can't provide a paper trail proving the item predates 1947, assume it's recently made from illegally harvested wood. You also have the choice to support organizations that are the intelligence agents of the conservation world. You can donate to groups like the Environmental Investigation Agency and the Wildlife Trade Monitoring Network, helping support undercover investigations that expose corrupt officials and smuggling routes, directly leading to major seizures and arrests. Or better yet, support sustainable alternatives by choosing furniture made from fast-growing, legally harvested species. Promote the message that truly sophisticated collectors choose certified, sustainable materials over products that fund environmental destruction. The battle is evolving rapidly. Criminal syndicates are adapting to new enforcement measures by developing more sophisticated smuggling techniques. They're using false documentation, bribing officials in new countries, and finding creative ways to disguise illegal shipments as legal timber. But technology is fighting back too. Blockchain tracking systems are making timber fraud nearly impossible. DNA testing can identify not just species, but geographic origins, making it harder for criminals to claim illegal wood came from legal sources. Satellite monitoring now detects deforestation within hours, allowing rapid response to new logging operations. The next phase, and the biggest sticking point here, focuses on demand reduction in China. Conservation groups are working with Chinese consumers to promote sustainable alternatives and reduce the cultural obsession with wild rosewood. These campaigns emphasize that truly sophisticated collectors choose certified, sustainable materials over products that fund environmental destruction. The rosewood crisis represents a turning point in how we think about environmental crime. The international response, treating wood trafficking with the same seriousness as wildlife poaching, sets a precedent for protecting other threatened species and ecosystems. But your choices are critical. Every time you verify wood sources, support sustainable alternatives, or refuse to buy undocumented products, you're voting against the criminal networks that are destroying some of Earth's most precious forests. Next time you see wooden furniture or instruments, remember to verify their sources, because the future of entire ecosystems might just depend on it.